back to the third and final vlog. Here I am typing away my report. So this time I'm going to talk to you guys more about the project and some conclusions, and I'll share some pictures from various trips. Hello, I'm back in the US from study abroad, and I realized that I never really had time to explain the poster project that I really did. I'll show you guys the poster. One of the last days that we were there, we all got together in this hall and we all had like these huge posters that were printed out, and we had a judge come by and ask us questions just to explain what we did, what we found, and what we learned. And we had like other people come around, so I never really knew exactly who the judge was. It was a very calm questioning. It didn't feel like pressuring or anything. So yes, so I shall explain. Just a little warning, the poster's a little crinkled up from the plane, so it's been through things, but it's still intact. Okay, so here is the title. Phenotypic characteristics of Campylobacter jejuni, strains isolated from different sources. Okay, so in the introduction, kind of just explain that, Campylobacter is a foodborne disease and that it causes gastroenteritis, and it's becoming more and more prevalent across the globe. And that I'm mainly looking for variations that it caused in the growth, the motility, which I'll explain later, the antibiotic resistance, and its formation of biofilm, and differences in proteins. So, to start off, I had bacteria from humans that have had Campylobacter, from chickens, and lab strains, so just like strains of bacteria that have been grown in labs for a long time, so we know how they function, so they're good to compare, Okay, so graph of strains. This just explains the conditions that they were in, that they need to be in conditions that have like lower amounts of oxygen to survive, and that's just called a microaerophilic environment. And so this experiment showed that the lab strains grew the best. And that makes sense because they're used to growing in labs, right? And I grew them in labs, and the human strains and the chicken strains, they're not used to growing in labs, so they grew the least. So that shows you how organisms adapt. They're really smart, good for surviving. And then motility. This is how they can move in a person, or their ability to move anywhere and infect. So the most infectious over 48 hours were the human strains. So they're more dangerous. They can move in you more. In fact, they moved more across the plates over time. And then for antibiotic resistance, the dots show growth. So all of these plates had different concentrations of antibiotic growing in them. So if I see a dot, that means that strain grew, so it's resistant, right? Because it still grew despite the antibiotic. And all of the human strains were resistant except for one of them. And one of the lab strains was also resistant, which it's supposed to be sensitive, so it's supposed to not grow, but it did. So they could look more into that. Maybe it's changed over time. Okay, and then I did biofilm growth. So the protection that this kind of bacteria forms when it's in conditions that it's not really used to growing in. And the human strains again form the most biofilm. And also did one of the chicken strains. Sorry for the bad lighting in here. But yeah, so that means that the human strains are more infectious, they're more resistant, and they form more protection, which was also helping in the resistance because it's harder for the antibiotic to work with the biofilm formation. And this little gel here just showed differences in protein bands, and that just means that there's like variations, and those variations in proteins could also influence like all of these other phenotypes. Like maybe there's a protein that makes a bacteria have greater motility, or for example, lab strain 2 didn't have like a little double band, and strain 79 had a higher protein up here. I don't know, maybe they have to do something with the antibiotic resistance. I would need more research in the future. And then this is just a PCR. This just confirms that I had C. jejuni, not C. coli, which is kind of a different bacteria. So that's just a confirmation of the type of bacteria that I had. And then to conclude, what I was saying about the human strains are more dangerous, and that the gels showed variations, which I was also looking for, and it supports other studies suggesting that clinical strains from humans should continue to be studied as they're phenotypically different and more virulent. I learned so much. I learned, how to do research professionally, the importance of asking questions, the importance of having patience, especially like in the science field and medical field that I want to go into, paying attention to little details in the experiments, things that could have gone wrong, again, asking questions for why and how things are happening. So I think that this has also helped me to think deeper about what I'm doing. And I also learned that with the help of scholarships and resources, you can travel mostly, and you can learn anywhere, you can meet people anywhere, you can help make a difference anywhere in the world. And that there's great people everywhere who are so open to getting to know you and wanting to help you in many places. And the importance of embracing culture where you go, not being scared of exploring and meeting others. I was blessed to meet a friend who explored basically a whole good chunk of Ireland with me, and the landscapes were beautiful. And I also want to thank Arcadia, the program, who provided little activities for us to do, like river dancing, where we got to see the traditional Irish dancing, and you really feel like you're, welcomed in when you're watching the dances all together. It's really fun. But yes, I really recommend study abroad, anyone who can. Learn to be more independent, the importance of adaptability in another country, being far from home, and that you can still stay connected at home, use your phone, talk to people that you care about, stay connected no matter where you are. And for the independence thing, I even learned how to cook. Study abroad helps you in so many ways. At least it did for me. And thanks for joining along, and I hope you guys have a blessed day.